Craig, ladies and gentlemen, and probably more gentlemen than ladies, welcome to the inaugural episode of our sports podcast. This is our sports podcast, and we have a sports podcast. My name is Christian, and I have my co-host with me today, Matt. How are you doing today, Matt?
I'm doing wonderful.
Matt wanted to talk about his quarterback rankings within the NFL. And this will have a very interesting point because as I am speaking to you now, I have just got a notification on my phone that Dak Prescott has signed a multi-year deal with the Dallas Cowboys for $160 million.
Wow, wait,
So
is that true?
I'm gonna turn it over to Matt, and he's gonna talk about his quarterback rankings, and we're gonna get straight into it here.
All right, so let's jump right into it. I'll start at the bottom of the list and move up to the top. So, I think the team with the worst quarterback situation right now is the Patriots with Jarrett Stidham. I think Stidham has shown nothing but his ability to throw interceptions. I feel like he struggles with reading defenses. I feel like he struggles in the pocket, and I feel like they're hoping that he improve behind Cam. I think that um, Cam had like some troubles in the offense, but I think you can see the difference from when Tom Brady was in New England. He only threw like 20 something touchdown passes, and then he goes to Tampa Bay and throws 40 something. I mean, it's clearly something broken in the offense. I don't think that no matter who the quarterback is, they're really going to have a lot of success there. Moving up, I'm going to go with the Bears at 31. And the reason I say the Bears are at 31, they don't have Trubisky. All they have is Foles. Foles is an up and down quarterback. He's shown that he's a really good backup, but not much beyond that. He's someone that can follow the offensive coordinator's designs and do what he says and execute fairly well, kind of like a discount Alex Smith, in my opinion. But I don't think that he's really going to lead a franchise. And he also has a huge contract, so it's not a good quarterback situation for the Bears to be in. And next at 30, I have the Jets. Even though they will probably get Zach Wilson, who looks to be a good prospect. You also have Sam Darnold, so you have to balance that. You're not really going to get a lot for Darnold in terms of trade, maybe a second round pick. A lot of people are saying first, but I can't understand how he could possibly be worth a first. So in that case, I feel like they're struggling a little bit in that department. And the quarterback, and they also have a lot of needs in general. If they're able to like trade for someone like Watson, then this makes it really worth it. But I feel like given the top couple quarterbacks in the draft, I feel like that Watson is not going to be traded to a team like the Jets who have such a high pick. It's going to have to be a team that has cap space in the later rounds that are going to be able to trade with him, or later in the round that's going to be able to trade for him. Next up, I have the Jags. The assumption that we're working off is that they're going to get Trevor Lawrence. And I think Minshew's fine, but it's not really better than any of these other quarterbacks. It's not like you can evaluate a rookie coming in and assuming that they're going to be great. I think that's a projection that is going to be difficult to prove. So as of right now, I have them there. They aren't really a franchise that's shown that they've been able to succeed. So I think that's a good spot for them. And then the football team, they are just without a quarterback. They have Heineke, Alex Smith, Kyle Allen. Kyle Allen's shown that he can play decently well, but he's not going to be like your franchise guy. But so they definitely have room to improve in quarterback. But there is like five good quarterbacks clustered together in that in the first round projection. So I think they could probably snag a good one, but it's just bottom five doesn't really mean that they're really good in the quarterback position. But I think they have a good team that a young quarterback could succeed in if they're willing to put in the work. So what are your thoughts on that, Christian?
All right, so I'm gonna comment a little bit on what you said there. I think the utter disrespect for the missile out of the New England Patriots, Jared Stidham, is a little ridiculous. You say he's done nothing but show he can throw interceptions. I ask you to watch the tape, and if you don't see a young man balling, then I don't know what you're seeing. The same way, I'm going to have to speak on the football team. They have signed Taylor Heineke to a multi-year deal for roughly, I believe, $8 million. I'm talking out of my ass. I have no clue, but that's what's in my head right now. So I believe they have a quarterback for the next 2 years. Taylor Heineke almost beat Tom Brady, Super Bowl MVP, greatest player of all time in a playoff game, on the Washington football team. Let that sink in. Nothing is more dangerous than a man who doesn't know he's supposed to be awful at football. Taylor Heineke came through, and he is the face of the Washington football team. The faceless organization has a face, and it is some fucking frat boy that no one knows of. I hope the Jags do poorly. I hope Trevor Lawrence, per my prediction, isn't all that great. I think he'll be a top 16 quarterback throughout his time in the first couple of years, but I think he will have a devastating injury and he will not be able to compete and perform at a top level throughout the rest of his career. I think he'll be all right in the beginning. I see his ceiling currently is Justin Herbert of the Chargers, who we will mention later. The Jets, I feel so much pity for the Jets organization. Uh, I don't know how it got this bad. They made the playoffs and almost went to the Super Bowl with Mark Sanchez. And now here they are with their defensive coordinator quitting in the middle of the game and their head coach of previous season being arguably the most detrimental asset a team can have. And there's a literal effect regarding this man, similar to the Madden curse, the Adam Gase effect that is seen on players such as Minka Fitzpatrick, Ryan Tannehill. Ooh, I stumbled on my own quarterback. Unfortunate. And I could talk for hours on the Bears situation. I ultimately think that Alex Smith will be heading to the Bears, so they will pop up a little bit in the rankings here for me. While I'm not the biggest fan of Alex Smith's ability, I think he's better than the current two options that they currently have on the table, which would be Mitch coming back, obviously, with his familiarity within the system and the organization, and Big Dick Nick, who I genuinely believe is probably the most overrated individual in the NFL. So if you have anything you want to add to that, if you want to move on up in your list, putting it over to you, Matt.
So the only comment I really have is on the football team. Heineke is getting backup money with incentives to be the starter. It's a mostly incentive based contract. I think it's 2 million guarantee, but I don't want to be quoted on that. But it is an $8 million contract in total if he meets certain incentives and stuff. And I mean, he's definitely not.
He
He's
will.
definitely not their long term option.
Yep, he's the truth.
You're predicting some sort of Farvian career for him starting.
It's not Farvian, it's Minshevian.
All right.
It will be great next year, and then it will be awful the next.
Oh no. All right. So my next five, and this one's kind of controversial. I have the Dolphins, the Eagles, the Steelers at 25, Broncos at 24, and Giants at 23. I was not impressed whatsoever with Tua. I feel like a lot of the criticism of him coming in turned out to be true. He just played on a great team and kind of benefited off of that. I think that he has room to improve. This is just based off last season and what I expect to see from him this season. But I mean, a lot of players can grow a lot in a single season when given the right tools in order to do so. So I mean, I definitely think he can succeed. He's definitely young, but I just feel like right now he's just below the other quarterbacks. And one of those was his former teammate that he got booted out of town, Jalen Hurts. I'm a big Jalen Hurts guy, so it's kind of surprising that I have him this low. I think the biggest thing for Jalen Hurts is that he has shown great ability with his legs. He's a dynamic runner. He throws a pretty good ball. He is facing some of the same plights as some of the teams lower on the list. Not really a perfect offensive line, lackluster weapons, but he really made it work for the games he was in. He wasn't the perfect quarterback. He definitely exceeded expectations. What was laid out for him, especially coming in after Carson Wentz. He totally exceeded expectations, but it's not like he really set the world on fire. Definitely a solid option. I hope to see it improve in the next year. Hopefully win MVP. But right now I just don't see the Eagles having that great of a quarterback option. Next up, the Steelers. Big Ben coming back. Took the vet minimum in order to come back, saved them a crazy amount of cap space. He's definitely trying to make it work. I think that overall, because they were using him with a short passing game, it was really predictable. Yeah, he got a lot of completions, he got a lot of touchdowns. They lacked a run game. The question is, are they going to be able to rebuild that offensive line in the offseason? So not only does it need to be very strong to run, they are really focusing on protecting Ben Roethlisberger. And is he going to be able to succeed when it's more of a drop back game and he's throwing it? And is he going to get hurt since he's been having injury history recently as he's gotten older? It seems to be seen, but I feel like this is where he is. I feel like he's currently regressing. and this is where he belongs. He had a good season in terms of regressing. It's just the end of the season really left a sour taste in everyone's mouth. Next up, the Broncos. Drew Lock is what he is right now, a bad Baker Mayfield. So his constant is a bad Baker Mayfield. That's kind of how I feel about it. He does have his highs. He has his lows. He's got a good arm. He just makes really poor decisions sometimes, holding the football too long. Don't really like it. And the same goes with Daniel Jones and the Giants. I feel like him and Locke are very similar. Really high hopes. I just feel like they're not really exceeding um, expectations. So with that, what do you think of these rankings?
Well, it's very interesting that first on this list of things for me to talk about is the Miami Dolphins and quarterback situation, which inherently just got worse. I'm breaking all this news today. Per Adam Schefter, the Miami Dolphins have traded picks with the Tennessee Titans in exchange for Isaiah Wilson. So Isaiah Wilson, former first round draft pick to the Tennessee Titans, potentially one of the greatest draft busts of all time. Someone who I follow heavily on social media purely to make me angry, is finally gone, and I can breathe a fresh sigh of relief that this man no longer holds so much of our cap space. Now that that's over, I think the Tua slander here is completely unwarranted. To have him below Jalen Hurts, who showed less promise in the first year, both on the field and statistically, is kind of ridiculous. Tua had a very high win percentage in his games, and while you can say he didn't arguably finish some of his games he played in, he for what was it, 4 months before the season was having trouble walking. So I think Tua, with time, will become obviously the better quarterback of the two. I think Jalen Hurts might have a fun year or two, but he will ultimately be replaced. I'm a big Jalen Hurts guy as well, but I don't see enough from him to warrant a long time plan with him being the focal point of an offense. Um, Ben Roethlisberger, don't care about him. Drew Lock, the only highs he has is because he lives in Colorado. The rest are lows. And I hate the Giants because they suck and their uniforms are awful. Also, Daniel Jones fell one time while running unprovoked. That is my comments on these set of 5 quarterbacks you have handed to me. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for coming. I'm done.
Oh no! All right. So next up, we have we have the Colts. All right, and at 22,
The
we have the
Colts.
Panthers at 21. We have the Lions at 20. We have the Bengals at 19. We have the 49ers at 18. So I'm gonna start with the Colts. They got Carson Wentz. Obviously, terrible season. The 2 seasons before, he had 2 really decent seasons and 1 really great season. And I feel like a lot is to be said about the Colts have a really really good team. They have a great defense that can really propel the offensive up because they get more possessions, they get better field position, all of those things. And I think that Carson Wentz has a perfect opportunity to succeed. Will he? I don't really know. I didn't want to put him below Daniel Jones or Luck or or not Luck, Lock or any of those. I feel like he's just better than them. Next up, I have Teddy Bridgewater, someone who is apparently not athletic enough for the Panthers and they want to get rid of. But it is what it is. I feel bad for Teddy Bridgewater. He had all the promise in the world. Louisville quarterback on the Saints played really well, gets a nice deal. But I mean, it's kind of like whatever. I mean, when you have a team that's young and they're rebuilding and they've gotten rid of all their stars, it's really hard to succeed in that sort of system. I mean, I think he's a good quarterback. He's a good, solid, average quarterback. A little bit below average, but I mean, he's just kind of there. The Lions have Goff. Goff is just aggressively average. He has highs, he has lows, but he's just an average quarterback. There's not much more to say to that. He doesn't really bring like a real spark to any offense that I've seen, and once he gets out of rhythm, it's just there's no coming back. Next up, the Bengals. Joe Burrow got hurt. So I think the biggest question for Joe Burrow that you're gonna have probably is like, why is he so low? You love Joe Burrow, right? Why is he so low? Um, I just think he had a good season, but I don't think that the Bengals are set up to protect him and help him well enough to really succeed in this upcoming season. Long term, I mean, I could definitely see him climbing up this list very easily. But with just this season, he didn't have that great numbers. He did get hurt. He was doing really well passing the ball, but his defense was, really leaky and was just letting people through and scoring. So he was in these shootouts all the time. But overall, he played really well for a rookie, and I could see him moving up in the future. But I just think right now they don't have enough tools to help him really succeed without him getting injured again. 49ers with Garoppolo, again, he's another one of those quarterbacks that are just average, but he's proven, to me at least, that he's able to win games. He doesn't really take over a game ever, but he does win games. He's a solid quarterback. He makes the right passes. He fits well in Shanahan's system. And they have set him up nicely to succeed. I will say that their offensive line is kind of like a sneaky need. They've had two major left tackles leave in the past 2 seasons. They just have a lot of injuries in general. So hopefully that they can patch some of that and really set them up for success. So with that being said, on to you, sir.
Well, I would like to start off with, regardless of the subject matter, if we are talking about a list of NFL teams, and in the worser half of that list, the Colts are in there, I'm happy with the list. I'm very thankful that the Colts have decided to go with Carson Wentz in their quarterback situation. It has been 20 years of Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, and then rootin' tootin' Phil Rivers. And while Phil Rivers, I've always been against in a way. I don't think he's all that great. I think he's a little bit more hyped up than his talent provides. I'm absolutely here for this Carson Wentz trade. If there's anyone with less confidence in the NFL than Carson Wentz, point me to their direction, and no, don't point me to Marcus Mariota. Uh, I am here for this cult situation. I love it to death. The Panthers, I have no clue what they're doing. They're probably going to draft, I think, Trey Lance to be a good bet. I think he'd be a good fit in Matt Rule's system. So I see them here. Jared Goff, I have a soft spot in my heart for. He single-handedly turned around the Tennessee Titans, and while I do have a slight bias towards the Tennessee Titans because that's the center of what most of my NFL knowledge comes from, so I apologize. Um, but without him, the Titans would still continually be in where the Jags are now as a 3-13 team that does not have any future. Looking forward to them. However, the Rams King's ransom that Jared Goff was accumulated for, who I believe he was the most recent first round pick of the Rams. They haven't had one since him back in 2016, and they have gotten rid more of them in the future for Matt Stafford. So Jared Goff is just out here making careers for other teams than the one he's on. So I respect that. He's the future journeyman of the NFL, and I think he'll serve his purpose. And with Joe Burrow, I think this is a perfectly fine spot for him. Big Big Joe guy over here. But he got hurt. He showed promise. He's also on the Bengals. I don't think you can go much higher on a list if you were on the Bengals at above 19. Um, I also Jimmy Garoppolo sucks. He lost the Super Bowl. He overthrew a wide open pass that like I had a 50% chance of making. So Jimmy G sucks. He should probably be in the 20s, if not in the later 20s. But that's my opinions on the matter, Matthew.
So who above Jimmy, or who below Jimmy, I guess?
Who below Jimmy?
Right. Yeah. You know what I'm trying to say.
I would put Jimmy at 28.
28?
Yes. And I would shift everyone up one from there.
Okay.
I believe Tua Hurts, everybody is inherently better than Jimmy. I see nothing from him that wants me to go, oh, I want this guy to be the quarterback for my team. I think the 49ers are just kind of stuck in this cap situation with him where it's hard to get rid of him. Nobody really wants him. And it's kind of like the Jared Goff situation, but he's more attractive. So it's difficult to deal with. So
Gotcha. All right. So
he's so attractive.
I know. What can you say? I'm going to do 7 right now just so we can do the top 10 at the end.
Okay.
So we have 17. We have the Saints. They have a interesting situation going on at quarterback. They're kind of being held ransom, but I just feel like even in older Drew Brees, who can only throw so long, he's still incredibly accurate. I mean, long bombs was never his forte. So I still think that he's not. We're talking about top 10 quarterback, top 5 quarterback the last couple seasons. I think him being around 17 makes sense as he's regressing. And I just think that he knows how to command an offense. They also have other quarterback options there still. For some reason, Taysom Hill's on the roster, and he's getting paid a lot. And then they could probably bring Jameis back. I'm not exactly sure what's all going to happen with that. But if they're able to have Jameis in the background, Drew Brees gets hurt again, or he's not performing well, that's someone they could throw in maybe. I just feel like this is about a right spot for their team as a whole and for Drew Brees. Next, I have the Vikings. Kirk Cousins is like your slightly above average quarterback. He's not really gonna send it home, but he can have some big games. He can really sling the ball sometimes, especially when he is Thielen and Jefferson. That's a really dangerous offense. And then you throw Cook in the mix, and you're talking about he's in the right spot and he's going to be doing well. We have the Raiders. I like Derek Carr a little bit. I'm not positive. Do they still have Mariota on
Yes.
contract? So they still have another option there if he gets hurt or if he's not performing well. But I feel like they're going to stick with Carr. He is another quarterback like Carson Wentz, who's a little sensitive, little bit. But overall, I think that he's just a solid quarterback. I feel like he's a little better than average. I mean, having at 15, so that kind of shows you where I think. Yep. So we're gonna move on to 14. That's the Falcons. Matt Ryan. I feel like Matt Ryan is I don't know how I got here. How he's so low on 14. I feel like he is, an older quarterback, but I mean, he has Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley to sling the ball to. He does it consistently. It's just the Falcons defense is ass. So, I mean, I think that there's a clear cutoff between 14 and 15. Derek Carr and Matt Ryan, I feel like there's a cutoff there. Every other quarterback is someone that's going to be seen as like you can win with them. You can, and that's just how I feel about these quarterbacks. And yeah, I feel like Matt Ryan doesn't really belong here, but this is where he is. Next we have the Chargers. Justin Herbert. I hated him coming out in the draft. I listened to all of the people talk about him. I was like, oh, this guy seems like a not really good, but he quickly changed my mind. I think that he's a great player. Now, right here, I had a little triple ahead: Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, and uh, Herbert all together. I feel like we while we project Justin Herbert to have a really, really, really good season last year, let's not forget that Baker Mayfield. I think he broke Baker Mayfield's record by like 1 or 2 touchdowns or something like that. Baker Mayfield had a really, really good season. He actually came in halfway through the season, just like Justin Herbert, behind Tyrod Taylor. And the next season he had was awful. So while I was thinking about putting him above Baker, I feel like that's disingenuous because Baker had a similar experience and has turned into a borderline franchise quarterback. I think Baker still needs to prove it, but I think Justin needs to prove it even more. So Herbert has to prove it even more. It's a little tough there. So next up is Baker. He's been a little bit overrated. He's on an incredible team with an incredible roster. His line is perfect. His receivers are perfect. He has 2 incredible running backs. He's 3 great tight ends. It's just kind of ridiculous how many weapons he has at his disposal. So I mean, he performed pretty well this last season. Threw for a lot of yards. Won a playoff game. So I mean, there's not much else to say. 1 playoff appearance, 1 win, 1 loss. It is what it is. But he definitely showed a little bit of promise that you'd hope with your first overall pick. Next, we have Kyler Murray. I put him here. He's definitely better than Baker Mayfield, but even if the stats don't agree with that, he feels better. He's a better arm, probably a little worse accuracy, about the same decision making, but more electric on his feet. So I just feel like they're about the same, but I think the running and the arm are the biggest things to separate them. And I know Baker threw a bomb into the end zone at the end of the Ravens game. I don't care. It's completely irrelevant. I don't care how far he can throw it if he can't throw it accurately when he throws that far. So I think that's about where he belongs. We've seen about what his ceiling is, and he has great weapons, and he's doing pretty well. So from there on, give me your thoughts on my 7. You like where they
Yeah.
are or not?
I like where a lot of this lies. I believe the Saints at 17 is accurate. I feel like Jameis, fresh off of gaining new eyesight and a year of continuity in a good system, which I do not believe the Buccaneers had for his skill set at least prior coming into the season. Will do him well. His very strange workout routines will promote him to a average level of playing, which will fit him right at 17. Uh, Kirk Cousins at 16. God, is that nothing more beautiful than Kirk Cousins being slap bang average in the middle of a quarterback ranking list? That man lives to be the average Joe of the NFL, and he will continue to be such until the day he retires. Derek Carr, don't care. Don't care. What I do believe is they might be in the market for some trades. You hear that every year coming out of the Raiders organization. I'm not currently sold. John Gruden is sold on Derek Carr, so we're going to have to keep our eyes open on this. And then something I love, which is the exclusion of Matt Ryan from the top 10 of a quarterback list. Matt Ryan is like Paul Rudd to me. Something about him makes me want to punch him in the face. I'm not sure what it is, but it's there and it's real. I do not like Matt Ryan. I think his Matty Ice's MVP season was not merited. If I had Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley to throw to, I would put up similar numbers. Prove me wrong. Pro tip, you can't. Chargers, Herbert, he proved me wrong incredibly. When I watched his interviews and whatnot, I believed I was looking at him who did not enjoy playing the game of football. He obviously put up great stats at Oregon, and you can find that's a thing Oregon quarterbacks do with their wild offense that they run. But I genuinely felt that he did not have the will to be a quarterback in the NFL, which is arguably one of the toughest things you can do. Lead a group of 50 plus men and be the commander of them. He's completely turned that around, proved me wrong, and he's done so well at it that I genuinely believe he will be the best quarterback out of this class throughout the future, including Joe Burrow. Baker Mayfield bothers me because of his commercials. Why is he in so many commercials? That's a Cleveland market. Who did this? Who is in charge of this? I am not a fan. There are other quarterbacks that are better than him that do not have deals like this. Who did this? I need to talk to them. That is the end of that. And I love Kyler Murray, fantasy MVP, baby. I think he's going to have a bright future with continuity in that air raid offense. I think it's only going to go uphill in a spiraling fashion for the Cardinals and Kyler Murray. So I'm going to pass it back to you.
Yeah, I just have one like question for elaboration. Like, so I was stuck between Kyler, Baker, and Herbert. Do you like where I have them and my reasoning behind it for the most part?
I agree with it. Yes, I believe that inherently Baker is currently better than Justin Herbert. Oh, I do think Justin Herbert soon will surpass him, and I think Kyler Murray is definitely the most electric of the three. If I had to pick one of them, Kyler Murray is easily the one I pick.
All right, good. That was one that I was a little worried about. I feel like Matt Ryan and those three, and
I
so
hate Matt Ryan.
I'll just do the first half, the top 10. We're gonna go
Alrighty.
with big man Dak Prescott, officially a Cowboy for a long term. We have Ryan Tannehill, your boy. We have Matthew Stafford. We have Josh Allen, and then we have Tom Brady. So I'll start with Dak Prescott. Yeah, he's electric. In that offense, he's great. There's nothing else to really say about that. I feel like he's behind the other three just because he's coming back from an ankle injury, and that's something he's going to have to battle through and work through. And hopefully, he can come back and push himself back up into like the top 5 or 6 or 7 ish range. But right now, I'm going to have him behind these other three. Ryan Tannehill, I feel like he is hot or
Oh,
cold.
he is so hot.
He's hot or cold, but I think his biggest issue. Oh no, I think his biggest issue is that when they really need him to show up, some games he doesn't. So, and I'm going to gloat a little bit, but during the playoff game where Derrick Henry couldn't get started because there was 8 people in the box, 9 people in the box. When you have Corey Davis and AJ Brown on the outside, you have to make that work as a quarterback. Like those are two great wide receivers. You have Jonnu Smith in the tight end spot. It's just you have to make that work. And I get that makes it really difficult when they're crowding the box. You have to get rid of the ball relatively quickly because if the run's not happening, they're crashing. So I understand all of that, but I feel like he has the talent to be top 10. I just feel like sometimes he has that like lack of ability to take over a game, but he has done that before. He absolutely has. I mean, he won the Texans game with the beautiful bomb to AJ Brown. So, I mean, I think he can do it. I think now that I think about it, I'd probably switch him and Dak. But I think I'm kind of like biased because Dak just got a contract and I know he's on the Cowboys now, so it kind of changes things in my mind. Next, we have Matthew Stafford, and again, yes, I know you think he's overrated,
I don't think that.
or you think he's
We'll get into it. We'll
okay.
get
It's fine.
into it.
Anyways,
I need my own time for this.
I honestly think he belongs right here. I think this is aggressively where he belongs. He's not in the top echelon quarterbacks, but I think he's the best of like the average ones. I think that it's really easy to be like, oh, he would have succeeded if he wasn't in Detroit. He would have succeeded if he wasn't in Detroit. He would be way better if he wasn't in Detroit. All that stuff, right? He took Detroit to the playoffs once or twice and lost or something. I don't know. I know he took him to the playoffs at least once. And with all that being said, I think that this is his chance to prove it. Like this will be his prove it year. It was everyone right calling you underrated, or is it time to just blow that whole theory up? It's kind of like when Tom Brady left the Patriots. It was like, but was this because of the system you're in? Was this because of Belichick, or is this because you are a winner? And I think he went to Tampa Bay and proved it. So I think that this is Matt Stafford's chance to at least make a run and prove that he's substantially better than Goff. Next, we have a Josh Allen. Oh, Josh Allen gets under my skin. Not him. He seems like a great person. I mean, he seems like a lot of fun. He seems like a great guy, but I hate the way the media talks about him. I mean, this is the same dude who's never thrown in the 60s in completion percentage. So he's thrown in 70%, and he's thrown 2 seasons under 60%. And I think the crowning of him goes a little bit too far. I mean, his growth was exponential, and no one's calling for regression. It's very strange, in my opinion. I mean, you can't be putting him up there with Rodgers and Mahomes yet. He is Josh Allen. He's a really good quarterback with a lot of potential. I think he needs one more season to see is the Josh Allen we saw this season the real Josh Allen, or is this just a fluke season? And the next one I have is Tom Brady. He is just in the top 10, not because of anything it has to do with his skill at this point in his career. He just wins. It doesn't make any sense. He just wins. So, I mean, in Michigan, he won. He just won. He won in New England, even in his early years where he was terrible quarterback. He won. She just wins. I don't know. I feel like he has to be right here. He just wins.
Yeah, thank you for the transition there, Matt. I
You just go
appreciate
with
it.
it. Just go with
Just go with it. Just go. All right, I'm
it.
picking up a lot of slack here. Uh,
So start with the Cowboys. What do
I'm
you
go.
what do you think of Dak and Tannehill? Do you think I should switch them? What are you feeling there?
I think that Dak Prescott is a better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill. However, I believe that Ryan Tannehill has a greater capacity to bring the team to a win than Dak does. So I believe that Dak Prescott is a better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill, but I believe that Ryan Tannehill on the Titans is a better match for the team and will amount to more wins than the Dak Prescott. Obviously, coming off a huge contract that he just signed today, it's very good for him. I like him, 4th-round pick out of nowhere, coming around and being successful in the league on the brightest stage. Good for him. I think Ryan Tannehill is the perfect quarterback for the Titans situation, where it is a run predominant team with Derrick Henry, and you have 1.5 receiving threats in AJ Brown, and the half coming from Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith, which are both heading free agency. So we'll have to see. Currently, AJ Brown is on roster, but I think he's a good mix of responsibility and game management. He's not going to overtly talent you to death like the quarterbacks above him can on this list, but I think that there's only 1 to 3 times a year so far with Ryan Tannehill, the Titans quarterback, that I've gone, what the fuck are you doing, Ryan Tannehill? And I take that any day of the week. I think that you can say that more about everyone below him, that there are more what the fuck moments, and he's an incredibly reliable, steady player who allows the people around him to make better plays. And here we go. Matt Stafford is not underrated. I need a breath. I swear. Everyone on the planet I have ever talked to in my 24 years of existence has believed that Matt Stafford is an underrated quarterback. Do you know what happens when there's a uniform consensus about someone being underrated? That means they're adequately rated and that he is bang on 8 through 10. He is not above it. He's not below it. He is right where he is meant to be on this list. He is not underrated. He's a good quarterback. Everyone knows it. His nickname is Matt Stat Pad or whatever the hell it is. He's a good quarterback. He's not underrated. Why do you think he's underrated? Unmute right now. Talk to me right now. Why is he underrated? Everyone in the world thinks he's underrated. Therefore, they all think he's good. Why is he underrated?
I think the belief of him being underrated is the fact that he was in the Lions, and I think if people believe that if he was in a different organization, that he would be considered a top 5 quarterback just based on his talent and what he was able to do in the Lions. And that's why I said that this year.
Oh, so he's overrated, actually. So he's overrated because he's not that good as a quarterback to be top 5 in this league.
Maybe. I mean, that could be the case. That could be you could be right.
I watched him play with arguably the best wide receiver of all time in Megatron, and they did great things together. They did great things together. Never once in my life was like, this is a top 5 quarterback. I've always said he's top 10-ish. That's it. He's not underrated. He's rated. He's arguably overrated.
We will see. We will see this season.
We will see. I am writing shit down I am watching his film like crazy. There is no one more invested in the failure of Matt Stafford than me. He's a great guy. Don't care. I am so sick and tired of this narrative that he is underrated, and everyone in the planet has the same opinion that he is underrated. When there is a unanimous opinion on someone being underrated at what they do, that means they are adequately rated at what they do. Josh Allen sucks. Move on. Tom Brady's goated. There's nothing to say.
All right. All right. I guess
I need a break.
I don't even know where to go from that.
I'm all heavy.
That's funny because actually for these last 5, we're gonna go one by one. I'm gonna explain. So I'm gonna lay out the top 5, and then I'm gonna explain it. We're gonna go one by one.
We should do the top 4, and they have to guess who the 1 is at the end.
Oh no, I think everyone knows who the 1 is. So
I don't think so.
The text. So it's gonna go Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. So I'm gonna start with Deshaun Watson. We know he has this whole situation where he's all mad because they didn't let him pick the head coach. He has a head coach. He doesn't want to play for him. He doesn't want to play for the organization. He's done with the organization. They shipped out all his friends, and now he's sad. So he is a good quarterback. I think that he's coming in a little overrated. I think people are putting him right next to Rodgers and Mahomes, and I feel like he's not quite there. He's in this tier with Lamar and Russell Wilson. And the reason I say that is because his defense was ass. And you can throw for a lot of yards when you're always down. So he had a lot of heartbreaking games. He was really close. Tremendous player. I mean, I have him top 5. It's not like I'm saying that he's, average. I'm critiquing them a little harsher than I critique, a Jared Goff. Jared Goff is just a Jared Goff. I mean, this is Deshaun Watson. If you're going to be top 5, you really have to defend why you deserve to be there or why you deserve to be higher. And I feel like he's just a really good quarterback. I think that he can, take over games and he can win games, but he just, as of right now on the Texans, he just doesn't have the pieces to be better than these other quarterbacks next season. I feel like he's going to struggle a decent amount wherever he goes, unless he goes to a really good organization. I like the Dolphins for him. I think it fits. It's also kind of ironic that they're going to get their own pick back, and if they go to the Dolphins, I think that's a good trade for all parties. I don't know why that hasn't been done yet, but that's kind of how I feel about him. I mean, he's a tremendous quarterback. I just feel like he's not as good as these quarterbacks above him. That's all.
Yeah, I'm with you there. The interesting thing about this whole Deshaun Watson thing is the fact that they haven't dealt Deshaun is ridiculous. The man obviously is not going to play with you. There is no mending that relationship. The Houston Texans are a dumpster fire, and it was really fun to watch Bill O'Brien single-handedly take down an organization from within. But I don't know. They just need to get Deshaun out of there. He's top 5, one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen play the game of football. Dabo Sweeney said, I don't know, how do you say his first name? Dabo?
I think it's Dabo.
Dabo Sweeney said it best. Coming out of Clemson, he was Michael Jordan. Why in God's name would you draft Mitchell Trubisky over him? That is just absurd. He was the Michael Jordan of football. He's not the greatest of all time, but the way he plays the game with his electricity and his ability to make any play at any given moment, I think that's an apt comparison. Just glad the Texans suck.
What team would you like to see him go to, or which team do you think?
I think the Dolphins is a perfect fit for Deshaun. I think the bigger stage is great for him, being the player that he is, and I think that the Dolphins are an up and coming team. And this is no disrespect to Tua. Deshaun's obviously a better quarterback than Tua. If you go in there with a quarterback who is more able to win you games outside of the weapons around him, and you start to pick up some of the weapons through the draft, free agency, and bring them to Miami, that Miami could be a force in the future, and they'll be competing with the Bills very soon. Should this trade with Deshaun Watson happen? So that brings up my summary of the Texans situation with Deshaun Watson.
All right. I also don't hate Watson to the Jets. I just think it's not really advantageous for the Jets, especially if you get the pick of either Wilson or Lawrence. I feel like those are two really solid options, and you just go with them.
Well, the benefit to trading for Watson would be he's a proven asset. You
Yeah,
can
but they're still a
have
building team, so I feel like it's a good counter
that's
argument there.
fair, but you can draft Ryan Leaf first in the draft, and he turns out to be awful. In
I mean, you're definitely not wrong with that. But proven commodity. But I mean, how much is he going to command?
Yeah, but Deshaun Watson will be good no matter where he goes. The money isn't real in the NFL. We've seen the Kansas City Chiefs pay somebody like a flapjack and a piece of pancake to play for their team, and they're I don't know how they've done it, but they had like negative 42 cents in cap space or something, and they still played the season. So cap space isn't real. Doesn't matter. The Dolphins should get Watson if they want to contend.
All right. Well, let's move on to number four. My man, Lamar Jackson. Um, I think that I have him so high because probably one because I'm biased, but I think the other reason is because I think throughout his career he has drug our offense to incredible heights by himself, just by being the player he is. Given how much young talent we have on offense, we being the Ravens, given how much talent the Ravens have on offense, and how young they are, and how he's able to like get everything out of them and win consistently. And it's not just the defense. I know like people like to say like, well, he's only winning because he has a good defense. I mean, I think in the regular season, playoff Lamar is a different story. I'm talking about regular season Lamar here. During the regular season, he he I think only once or twice has he not put up at least 20 points in a game. And this season he struggled a lot. There was definitely a lot of questionable plays. But I mean, if this was his regression season, I mean, he still put 33 touchdowns on the board for the Ravens. So I feel like people want to like bash him down because he may not be as accurate as a lot of the other quarterbacks on this list, or he may not throw the ball as much. He may be quick to run, but I don't think that makes him a bad quarterback per se. I mean, I think that he finds a way to win with his given offense. People know what he's going to do, and he still does it. And I don't really want to attack his receiver threats. I think that some of that was the passing game coordination. It was very poor. A lot of stacked receivers that wasn't really using the levels correctly. But overall, I mean, I think the receivers are fine. It's something that he can work with, especially given the tight end talent and the injuries last year. I think he'll definitely improve this year. Hopefully, with a little bit of offseason work, he'll get a little bit better and get back into that top quarterback conversation. But right now, I think he's proved more than Watson for me, but he hasn't proved more than the other quarterbacks on this list. So that's why I have him around at four. What are your thoughts?
I think speaking purely on, I guess, quarterback aesthetics would be the correct way to say this. On their talent and their ability to win games, he's arguably number one. But I think as if I want someone as my quarterback, I will put Lamar top five, but I will keep him below Deshaun. I think I would switch the two. I think Deshaun offers enough of the mobility that Lamar offers, but with more of the ability to win the game through the air, in my opinion. This is not a specific knock on Lamar's ability to throw the ball. I just would definitely trust Deshaun Watson more than Lamar in this case. I really like Lamar Jackson. I hate his guts because he's on the Ravens and you're annoying. But I think Lamar Jackson is the most electric player in the NFL. At any given moment, he can score, he can turn around a game, he can shit his pants in the middle of a game while losing, come back, and then the game. It's ridiculous. So I agree with him being top 5 with his ability to take over and be completely dominant. I just believe he would be below Deshaun Watson for me.
All right. Well, that's a completely valid opinion. I think that they're really close. I think they're close with Russ. So number 3, Russell Wilson. I mean, let Russ cook was a big theme at the beginning of the season, and it fizzled out, and he fizzled out, and they took away his cooking ability, took him out of the kitchen to get back in the dining room, and um, so I don't know. He's a really good quarterback. He feels he feels like a top 5 quarterback, but he just feels like he can't get over the hump of like the elite of the elite. I feel like he's just right there, but he just can't do it. He's trying so hard. And I feel like that's just where he belongs. It's just number 3. He's behind Rodgers, especially after the season Rodgers had. And then Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes is crazy. I dislike him as a player. He's fun to watch, but he wins and it's annoying. So, with that being said, there's not much more I can say. I just feel like he belongs here. I feel like he has proven more than Lamar and Deshaun, and just hasn't proven more than Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. Thoughts?
That's completely fair, and I I'll never be the man to comment on someone raising someone else's son. But I believe that I don't. If I were to look at this top 5 quarterbacks you have, I don't think I take Russ over Deshaun Lamar. I think I move Russ down to 5. He has some very great moments. I'm overall uninspired when I watch Russell Wilson play football. I'm not sure if it's because he's so corny. He's just so corny. You seen that video? Mr. Unlimited. Just shut up, dude. Nobody cares.
Maybe his teammates care. I mean, who knows?
No, they don't care. Nobody likes Russell Wilson. You can't prove me wrong. I'm waiting for proof against allegations that everyone hates Wilson. I think that the Seahawks could be better served with a more responsible quarterback. I'm just currently slandering Russell Wilson. I do not. I think he's top 5. I don't think he's 3 or I think he's 5. I think the others have more potential in their future. I think Russ has hit his peak a few years ago, and he's been coming down ever since. And I don't think he was merited an MVP vote. So now we'll move on to
I know. I have a quick question. I want to.
yeah.
So Tom Brady or Russ? I mean, who would you take for next season?
Next season it's Russell Wilson.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah, I think he's top 5. I don't think Tom Brady is a top 5 quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
I think his ability to win is unsurmountable, but his ability as a pure quarterback is arguably lower of the half of the league. So
Yeah. I think that his leadership ability is just beyond anything that I think anyone has been able to match in the league.
yeah, it's an intangible asset here that while rating quarterbacks, leadership's a very important thing, but you can be an incredible leader but suck and it won't matter. So I'm gonna keep Russell Wilson over Tom Brady, and I'm not saying Tom Brady sucks. He just won a Super Bowl MVP. But
So your list from 3 to 5 would go Deshaun, Lamar, Russ. So you'd switch.
yes,
Okay. All right. So number 2, Aaron Rodgers. I think he proved he can do it all again. You know, he's the Mahomes before Mahomes. He's just a really good quarterback. I would take Mahomes over him for the last person just because Mahomes is younger. I mean, they're relatively similar in when they started their career and actually started playing. Very similar with what the allure they've been able to garner, and Rodgers is just at the end of that, and hopefully he can keep up with whatever he's been doing. Hopefully the Packers decide to give him some more weapons. While I like that he's able to turn receivers into average receivers into great receivers, is kind of like a waste of talent when you just don't give him what he really needs. And just to get back to the NFC Championship again and lose in not similar fashion, but just repeatedly in the NFC Championship by not giving him what he needs. So your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers being 2? I feel like this is where he belongs.
yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and comment on the Packers fan base real quick. I believe that Devontae Adams is a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL. I believe their cast of running backs is adequate to be one of the best in the league. I feel that Packers fans are making a mountain out of a molehill with the lack of weapons they have on offense. I believe that there's talent there, and I believe that you don't need two of the best receivers ever in the world to be on your team in order to be successful. Um, there's all these complaints about not acquiring weapons for him. I genuinely believe that an NFL team normally goes, you have a wide receiver one who's clearly the dominant of your wide receiver staff, and you have others that fill in the subsequent roles. I don't see that any different on the Packers. I don't understand where this mantra comes where they are visibly upset that they haven't drafted offensive weapons and have focused on running backs or on the defense when Aaron Rodgers is still putting up MVP like seasons. I think he's undeniably a top 2 quarterback in the league currently and top 5 all time, but I don't believe that he is to the point where he is making such awful players look average to good. I believe that he has enough talent around him where he is supported and he is able to thrive. Um, and I don't agree with this whole era of not supporting the Packers' decisions to draft players outside of drafting Jordan Love, which is a little ridiculous. I mean, draft the guy a weapon, right? But
I mean, like if you're, yeah, that's funny, but like the Jordan Love pick, like I mean, as a Ravens fan, they traded up, picked right in front of the Ravens. I thought they were taking the last big linebacker off board. I thought they were taking Patrick Queen. I mean, I understand how it worked from Favre to Rodgers. Why not do that again? It's a nice safe way
yeah,
to keep the organization afloat, and maybe that's what the owners like. Maybe that's what the general manager liked the previous idea. So he's like, I'm going to roll with it. I mean, but right now you have an all-time great. You had two all-time greats in a row. The chance you're going to get three is, I mean, you
yeah,
you think you're real lucky. So
yeah.
um,
There is one thing I would like to add to this Rogers discussion, though. Congrats to him winning MVP. Obviously deserved. Greatest player in the league, probably, potentially. Um, but I'm going to come in with a gripe on this MVP vote. Um, I believe there were votes for Josh Allen, and I believe there were no votes for Derrick Henry. So I want you to point at Aaron Rodgers, and I want you to tell me what historic thing he did this season that no other quarterback has done. You can't. Okay.
am I supposed to respond to this?
No, I'm not expecting you to know
Oh.
this. Um, Aaron Rodgers, incredible season, right? But that's somewhat normalized in quarterback play nowadays. If your quarterback isn't having a phenomenal season, you're not going to be someone who wins the Super Bowl or goes far into the playoffs. Uh, Aaron Rodgers, great season. Derrick Henry had a historic season, top 5 rushing season of all time. Do you know how long the NFL has been around? A long time. There are no metrics in which Aaron Rodgers is a top 5 quarterback of all time. Derrick Henry should have at least deserved some recognition within the MVP consideration for I'm glad he won the Offensive Player of the Year, but someone to be the league rusher 2 years in a row, which is something unheard of nowadays, while also becoming the only 2,000-yard rusher ever to not have a Pro Bowl lineman on their team. It is unheard of, and I believe that is deserving of more recognition than what he deserves. And I believe that Rodgers stole.
I'm really glad you hijacked the Rodgers MVP by congratulating him, attacking Josh Allen, and then raising up Derrick Henry. But
I think that's pretty on point for everything I've done so far.
maybe what we'll do next is we'll have a top running back list. I'll submit it to you, and we can discuss that
We're
and
gonna
see
have words
what's
if there
there.
isn't 22 on top, baby. We're gonna have
We'll
words.
see. We'll see. There may be a 27 up top. We'll see.
Oh,
So number one,
Eddie George.
Patrick Mahomes. I mean, we saw the throws he made in the Super Bowl that hit his receivers in the face. It's pretty incredible. I do think one thing that does bother me is they're talking about someone get him a line. I was like, did you see any other team's line this season? They all look like that. Sorry that he had a perfect pocket all season. You Chiefs fan never actually realized he was running. That other quarterbacks actually have to run out of the way because they've let pass rushers through. I greatly apologize that you've never experienced that, and this is shocking to you. That's all.
Yeah, that's all you have to say, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me speak on Patrick Mahomes a little bit. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about his skills because he's the best player in the league. He's incredible, all that stuff. I'm going to talk about the people he chooses to surround himself with. Sorry, I'm just distracted. I'm looking at a Jackson Mahomes TikTok right now. Oh,
Alrighty.
he's dancing. He's moving. He's going. Sorry. Can we talk about Jackson Mahomes for a
No.
podcast? I could do that for a while. If you see, he's not even good at dancing. He's not even good at being on TikTok.
Oh
He
no.
God, I'm sorry. What is this podcast about?
It's about sports, I believe. It's actually our sports podcast.
Our
So
sports podcast.
I want to thank everyone for listening today. This is our first one. I hope that we have many more. I think this was kind of a fun thought experience. Hopefully, it recorded all right, and we can get up to a platform that more than one person will listen to. So,
Hey Matt,
yes, sir.
are you a tits or an ass man?